Hey everyone, welcome back to Garden State Growing. My name is Eric. It is early in the morning before I have to go to work. As you can see behind me, I've got all my tomatoes in that bed and that bed. They are trellised up. And this video is all going to be about putting those tomatoes in the ground, trellising them, pruning them, amending the soil, and having fun. So let's get going on the video for trellising up my tomatoes because I want 10-foot plus tomatoes this year. Okay, so I did a couple experiments here. One, as you can see, this one, as I was bringing it out, it snapped and I lost a good 1.5 feet off of the top of that. That's an orange ox heart, and I don't have many of these. So what I chose to do is I'm going to leave that sucker that's right there in that crook, and I'm going to let that grow, and I'm going to see how big this plant gets. I don't expect it to be one of my best performers because it was topped so heavily, but it may still continue to grow. But now I want to take you in and I want to show you something real special. Okay, now the people that have been following me know that I planted a bunch of tomato plants early and they died off because we got 3 bad frosts right in a row. But as you can see there, that's one of those plants and it's still trying to grow. The root system underneath the ground survived and it's putting out new leaves. Again, that's a beefsteak tomato, indeterminate. I do not expect that to be a solid performer this year. I'm basically just letting it grow as an experiment to see what will happen with it. And that's not the only one. There was plenty of other ones that survived and were throwing up leaves. Of course, I want to plant my top performing tomato plants, the ones I've been taking care of from the beginning. And you know, some of these are already, 36 inches high. Pretty much my Florida A's are doing really great. My Brandywine Pinks are doing fantastic. So I'm gonna take all my tomato plants out of my greenhouse today. I'm gonna line them up and I'm gonna show you how I put them into the ground and what I do to plant them. So let's get to it. Okay guys, here I am and I'm getting ready to put my tomatoes into the garden. Let me get rid of that screw, we don't need that. And what I have next to me is just a couple of things. For one, I have a bag of fertilizer. This is the Dr. Earth's, tomato and vegetable fertilizer. I find it works really well. It's a 5-5-2, 5 nitrogen, 5 phosphorus, and 2 potassium. And what I have here to my left is a bucket of water. So what I'm adding to it is just about a tablespoon. I have about 2.5 gallons in this bucket. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of this Super Thrive vitamin mixture. I'm not sponsored by them, and 2, I'm not even endorsing this product because this is my first time using it. But I did test it out on a tomato plant and I let it sit for 3 days. And I didn't see any negative effects. I didn't really see any positive effects, except for the fact that I did see almost virtually 0 transplant shock. Actually, they were actually doing better than I expected. So maybe I did see something from this. You might want to try it out. Maybe not. I don't know. So I'm just going to put about a tablespoon in there. And let me reach around. Grab our first contender. Now, if you're dealing with tomato plants that are this big when you're transplanting, which of course is a little bit bigger than I like to transplant them at. I did plant my tomatoes a little too early this year, so they are big. I have ones that are even bigger than this. I'm sure you're going to see it. Where are my pruners? Okay, I've got my pruners. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my tag. I'm going to put it where I'm going to be planting. I'm going to be real gentle because I snapped a couple of my tomato plants bringing them out, and I don't want to see all that hard work go to nothing. So, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it right into that bucket of water, and I'm just going to let that sit there for a couple minutes. I'm just going to let all that soil and the roots get just a little extra moisture for the transplanting.
and see if that Super Thrive vitamin mixture, it's not really, I guess it isn't a fertilizer of sorts, but it concentrates mostly on like B vitamins. 55 tomato plants. So see, this one is doing very well, as you can see. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this out of its container, be gentle with the flip, and stick it right down into that bucket and let it soak. You ask, how long do you let it soak? Well, I let it soak for as long as it's going to take me to dig this hole. That's about it. Only a couple minutes. Be careful of the wind here.
Dad,
What's up, Kato?
when you get a chance, you should see what Aunt Kristen got me.
Syringes?
Other than that,
Why?
she got me a thing of Fireball, a thing of Tito's vodka, Bailey's Irish Cream, a thing of rum chata, or 4-pack of Guinness, a bunch of snacks.
She's trying to turn you into an alcoholic?
She got me like Irish car bombs and a bunch of other shit.
Enjoy.
I'll try.
Don't get too messed up.
I know, that's why I haven't been drinking in a while, because I like, what is it, tequila? That George Clooney shit's pretty good.
Yeah. Don't get too messed up, kiddo.
Yeah, I know my limits.
Oh, good. I don't know mine. Little break for my son. It is his birthday. My in-laws are over. That's why I'm down here planting tomatoes. Now, I want to dig this hole down just about as deep as I can go. These plants are pretty big, and all the tomatoes that I'm putting in these beds right now are all indeterminate tomatoes. I put up this trellis for a reason, because they can grow 10 plus feet tall. So I wouldn't want to waste this gardening space on a determinate tomato. I'm going to show you how I plant them in the ground outside of my bed a little later on. If you notice my poopy in the back there, I got those other gardening beds at the top of the hill on the other side of the house. And she has taken to the habit of laying in my garden beds now. I guess the soil is warmer than the surrounding soil, so she enjoys it. And she's been laying in my strawberries and my lettuces, so I'm gonna have to do something about that. All right, so I got the hole dug. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the end of my string and I'm just gonna feed it down into the hole. Then I'm gonna take, I don't know, a pinch or two, a quarter of a handful, and I'm gonna sprinkle it down into the hole of the fertilizer, right down where the roots are. But I don't want the roots just sitting right on top of that, so I am gonna throw in just a little bit of soil on top to create that barrier between the roots and that fertilizer at first. But then I'm also gonna do another thing. So let me take this big guy out. And the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna prune it and get it ready for thing. So I'm gonna take off all the bottom leaves. This one snaps, so that's definitely coming off. Okay. So I just aggressively prune this pretty much. I do the single stem method, which is going to leave the bottom foot to 2 feet of the tomato plant without any stems or any leaves on it. And I'm okay with that. These roots are a little bit bound up, so I'm gonna give them a little bit of help. Not really gonna destroy them and really rip into them. I just wanna pull the stronger roots out a little bit more so they branch out into the soil instead of just staying and bound into a cup, because they'll just continue to wrap around and you'll wind up having an unhealthy tomato plant because of it. Okay. So that's pretty good. I'm going to be burying at least another 5 inches of this stem underground. And wherever that stem touches soil, it's going to root, and it's going to be a hardier, sturdier, stronger tomato plant because of it. So I'm gonna add a couple inches of soil down until I get to about the top third. I am gonna press this down around the roots to make sure that any crevices where the roots are filled in. And then I'm gonna take another pinch of this tomato fertilizer and spread it in like a teaspoon and a half. I'm not going crazy. They don't have to be aggressively fertilized. Now, instead of burying the string, you could just stake it down with landscaping ties or landscaping staples. But again, that's another additional cost that I don't think I need to spend. It's just so much easier just to bury the string. I am going to pat it down decently firm. I'm not going to try to crush it, but I'm definitely going to push it down to set those roots. And I'm also going to hill it up a little bit. That's good. I'm going to put, this was the Wisconsin 55. I'm going to label it right here. Now see, here's the issue though, is see this branch is touching the soil. I don't want that. I don't want any of the leaves to touch the soil, but I don't necessarily have to take off the entire branch. I could just take the lower leaves that are touching the soil and get rid of them. All right, now I'm going to save this to put into a bottom of another tomato plant hole. These are going to mulch down, they're going to compost and add nitrogen back to the soil, you know, that whole circle of life thing. So here we are, we have it. I'm just going to take a quick inspection of it, but also what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trellis it. And I'm just going to take my string, be gentle, I don't want to break off branches now. Okay, so there it is, it's trellised. Let me pull this knot a little tighter. Beautiful. This is going to get put out of the way, so it's not going to interfere with the plants. So now you're looking at it, and I want to inspect and see, is there anything else I need to prune off of this? And there is. My little pruning scissors. You have the main stem here, right? And then you have a lateral branch that comes off of the main stem. And then if you look right here in that corner between the main stem and the lateral branch, I'll try to bring you in closer for another plant. There's another little plant trying to grow. That's called the sucker, or some people just call it the side growth, but I don't like that because this is side growth as well. So this is the sucker. I'm going to take these off. These are going to propagate into a whole nother daughter plant growing off of your mother tomato plant. And it's going to suck nutrients and water from the mother plant that I don't want to happen. So I'm going to remove them. If you would like, you can let those suckers grow until they're about 5 or 6 inches. Then you could prune them off, take them, put them in a cup of water, and they will start to grow roots again. And then you can take those suckers and have an exact clone of the mother plant and replant that out somewhere else in your garden. It'll be a couple weeks behind the mother plant, but that's okay, because you can do succession gardening, so you don't get all of your tomatoes all at the same time. You'll have them spaced out a couple weeks. That's a great thing. So let me move on. Ace 55, or I'm sorry, Wisconsin 55. I do have Ace 55s in the shed or in my greenhouse. What you can see right here, this is a tomato plant that died off this year because I put it out in the frost too early. And as you can see, the stem is still green, and in the very corner here, it's starting to grow a sucker. And if I wanted to let this go as an experiment, I could grow a whole nother tomato plant. I'm sure it's going to survive because it's surviving right now, but I don't really want that. So, where's my shovel? This guy is going to come up. And it still has a decent little root ball that would have survived if I would have left it, but probably wouldn't have produced that well anyway. So I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna gently pick up this Wisconsin 55. Once again, let me see. I'm gonna test the hole. I can do up to here. So I'm gonna prune everything from this down. Now, as you can see, right here, you have the stem, your lateral side growth, and then your sucker. Sucker's gonna go, okay? I'm gonna do that for the entire plant, but for down here where I'm burying it, I'm also gonna do the lateral growth as well. And then I'm gonna stick that down in there. Where is my string? I'm gonna put the string down in the hole. Lay this down. I need a little bit more length on that string. All right. String is down in that hole. I'm going to throw a little pinch of fertilizer and a little bit of soil. Push that all down. And this is not very root bound, so I'm not going to really mess with it too much. Put it in the hole. Now I'm going to wait to prune this branch off until after I trellis it up to see if I even need to or not. Oh, that nice cool breeze. It's actually a hot day out today. It's like 80 something degrees. It's the first day off of work I've had in a very long time that it hasn't been raining, freezing cold, and miserable. All right, so I filled it up until I got to about the last 2 or 3 inches. Another pinch of fertilizer, not too much, and continue to fill it in. Today is, just to know, May 3rd, 2020. Now, if you're looking at these plants and you're going, oh my God, mine are only 3 inches tall, I just planted them. Don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. Your tomatoes are gonna do great. I'm doing this because I'm going for the legendary 10-foot plus tomato plant. All right, so now I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna gently just wind it around. Being careful not to snap any stems. You have to be careful with tomato plants. The stem and the leaves are slightly prickly. And I mean, it's not enough to like harm you or anything, but it's enough to make the tomato plants act like Velcro. And when the leaves touch the other leaves of another plant, they have a tendency to stick to the other plant. And then if you try to separate them too aggressively, you wind up ripping branches off. Okay, so now I trellised it up. Let me pull this down. Put a little tension on it. Okay. This is basically what we call training. And that's fine. This one doesn't want to stay. That's okay. I'm going to leave it for now. As this plant grows, I'm going to come and I'm just going to continue to do what I'm doing. Actually, I do want that to stop growing sideways on me. That's fine. I'm going to leave it just like that. But this guy at the bottom here, I don't want that on the soil. And the reason why I don't want leaves touching the soil is because this is where all the harmful bacteria live. It's all in your soil. So powdery mildew, blight, early blight, other bacteria that can infect your plants is what happens when 2 things happen. One, if you overwater and your plant's leaves are continually wet and don't have a chance to dry out. Or 2, the leaves are actually touching the soil and it's picking up microbes from the soil, which can damage the plant. So those are going to go in the bottom of that hole. I'm going to take this and mark this Ace 55. I'm actually going to add a little bit more soil to the top of this because I want to mound it up pretty decently. get that soil up that stem as much as I can. Okay. So at this point, there's really only two things left to do. Okay, you have to water it in. Even though I did soak those root balls, I want to water in the surrounding soil so they incorporate with each other real well. And I'm going to take this mulch that I had pushed aside to dig these holes, and I'm going to cover it up with mulch. Okay, I might get some more from my yard and bring it in here and cover these up. It's going to serve a couple purposes. The mulch is going to it's going to stop weed growth from coming up. It's not going to stop every weed, but it's going to be a lot better than if you didn't put the mulch down at all. Okay, it's going to stop weed growth. Two, is going to help retain moisture in the soil a lot longer, so you have to water a lot less, saving you a lot more money, but also is going to be a more even watering on your tomatoes, which is going to help prevent cat facing and cracking of your tomatoes, because that happens when your tomatoes dry out and then you water it and then they swell up like a overinflated balloon real quick, sucking in that moisture, and then they crack because the skin can't grow quick enough. It's like getting a stretch mark on your side if you get too fat or overweight or plump, whatever you want to call it, and you get a stretch mark. Same exact concept. The skin isn't elastic enough to accommodate the sudden growth, and it cracks, and you wind up having a bunch of tomatoes with cracking. Mulch is going to help retain that moisture. Also, having it in a raised garden bed is going to help retain that moisture. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the rest of these tomatoes in. This is the basics for planting just about any tomato, whether you're doing it in a container or in a raised garden bed or in the ground. You want to trim the bottom leaves, bury it nice and deep, don't let the leaves touch the ground, and trellis it up one way or another. I'm going to do the rest of the tomatoes, and if I come across a situation that is notable, I'll turn the camera back on and I'll show you what I'm looking at. Okay, we're back, guys. Before I even got a chance to put another tomato plant into the ground, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. I can't believe I did this. I went inside to get a drink of water. Oh, here it is, right here. And I saw on my countertop one of the most important things I know of, not just to planting tomato plants, but every plant. Now, how could I do this without making it sound like a commercial or I'm looking for a sponsorship? I don't know if I can, but I'm gonna try, okay? The one ingredient I forgot to put under my tomato plants, which I'd love to do with every single plant that I have, but I didn't have it. It was delayed in shipment. Same excuse as always, you know, COVID. Everything's taken months to get instead of weeks. Is this right here. This is Mycos, okay? Now, if you followed my channel, you know I have an affinity for mushrooms and mycelium and the network that they provide and the symbiosis with vegetables and fruit trees and just about every other plant. It's, in my opinion, one of the most intelligent organisms on the planet is mushrooms. Listen, I'm not gonna get that into it, but the fertilizer I use, the Dr. Earth's fertilizer, it has mycorrhizal fungi in it. So it has a certain percentage that will inoculate this soil if it's not wildly inoculated from just regular outside sources. But this stuff, Mycos, okay, is just pure mushroom culture. It's alive, it's mycelium, it's an amazing product. I'm not even telling you to buy this product. There's many different suppliers of mycelium, mycorrhizal fungi that you can use with your vegetables. Google it, go on Amazon, check it out, and buy whatever one you want. I don't care. Don't buy any at all. I really don't. It's not your problem. I'm just letting you know that This mycorrhizal fungi for your garden, it's the living plant below the plant besides the roots that keep your soil alive. It helps digest humus and these wood chips and break it down into organic matter, turn it into available nutrients that your plant will use. It will help create a water network underneath your plants, connecting the root systems of your plants, okay? And will help transfer more water from a soggier area to one of a drier area. It acts like a sponge and tries to even out the moisture in its organism, so it will actually bring moisture to roots that might otherwise not get it. All right, so just like before, where are my pruners? Right here. I'm gonna prune this up pretty aggressively. Look for any suckers that are growing. Don't really see any. Little tiny ones, but I'm not gonna bother with them. Let's see. Oh, all right, so this is what I'm talking about. I want to bury this deep, but that means I have to take off a whole bunch of foliage I don't want to take off. I mean, plants generally, the rule of thumb is you can take off 1/3 of the amount of leaves, so you have to leave 2/3 of leaves. I have pruned tomatoes more aggressively than this though, and they rebound just as well. So this is just one of those little curveballs. Now I went too shallow. All right, well, the tips of the leaves of the branches are still touching the soil on this one and this one. I'll probably wind up taking this one totally, and this one I'm just gonna clip in half. And I'm just gonna take it, and yep, I'm just gonna sprinkle it all over the roots, nice and liberally into the hole. And that's it. Oh, where's my string? Can't forget to bury the string. All right, I'm gonna throw a little bit of that fertilizer down. So there, I kind of made a decision on what did I really want. Did I want to have leaf growth or did I want to have root growth? How deep did I want to put it? Obviously, putting it down as deep as I would have liked to have put it would have meant I would have had to chop off at least 50% of the leaves on this plant. I really didn't want to do that. I'm comfortable with 1/3. Once I start pushing it, you know, then you're pushing, stressing out the plant. All right. Yeah, it's definitely gonna have to come off. All right, that one at the bottom there. All right, so I showed you my last ingredient, which was the mycorrhizal fungi. I'm actually gonna take another little spoon of it and I'm gonna top dress this. Pinch of fertilizer. Move that mulch back in. All right, guys, I just wanted to show you, was it this one or this one? I think, oh, it's this one here. All right, now here's a tomato plant that I have growing, and I'm gonna plant it just like I did all the other ones. I'm gonna remove these bottom stems down here for about the first 8 to 10 inches for now. This one, and I'm gonna go with this one. But then, as you notice right here, I've already got some flowers growing. Now the thing is, everybody says you got flowers, if they get pollinated, ding, 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 pollinated, you're gonna get fruit. Well, I don't want fruit yet. So, pinch. And I have another set of flowers right up here. And I'm gonna go right ahead and take that off right there. and any other suckers, but there really is none. So like I said, even with the suckers, okay, I want you to take a look at this. Do you see this right here? This is a gigantic sucker. This is one that I let get out of control. Now, if I let this continue to grow, as you can see, it's got flowers at the top. This is a whole new mother plant, but I'm not going to let it continue to grow. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take this off of this plant so it doesn't sacrifice the mother plant growing. That was just one gigantic sucker. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in a cup of water because this is a big one. Ooh, I lost a leaf because I broke it. I wasn't gentle enough. But it's got plenty more leaves on top. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put it into a glass of water. And I'm going to let that grow. All right, guys, that's it. That's where I'm going to end this video. It's past 6 o'clock. I've got just about all my tomatoes in. I still have 6 to go in the back. I will finish that up. I still have maybe 30, another bed's worth of tomatoes in there, which I'm going to wind up putting in that bed right over there, okay, as soon as I get that filled up. But I am not going to build another trellising monstrosity. I built 2, and that is enough for this year. Those I'm just going to stake up using these lats that I have right here. I'm just going to pop them in the ground, and I'm going to do the string all the way up. Those things are 8 foot tall, so these plants that I'm going to plant in that bed still have such an ability to grow into a magnificent 8 foot tall plant. Even higher, they will grow 2 feet above where you have them trellised on a stake. So I still will get 10 feet, but it's going to be this experiment here and this experiment here of, can I get bigger than a 10-foot tomato plant? My father-in-law seems to think so, but he thinks it's a bad idea. I think it's a great idea. All right, folks, I just covered the camera. Okay, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I brought you around and I showed you a little curveballs of sticking a tomato plant in a raised garden bed. It's almost like doing a tomato in a container. You can go check out that video, link in the description below. On the next time, I'm going to be concentrating definitely on my determinate tomato plants. I'm going to be getting them into either the ground or a container, and I'm going to be trellising them up with just a smaller stick, just like a 4-foot stick, which should be fine. But the pruning is different and the planting is different. So look for that video coming up soon. If you like this video, if you learned a little something, if you want to build a trellis of your own, this is a monstrosity. This is huge. You can do half of that. You do not have to go as big and as grand as I am going this year, because I am going, I can't see the word, that rhymes with all's out with these tomato plants this year. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I'm at 96 subscribers today. Hooray! My son's birthday, May 3rd, at 96 subscribers. When I go inside, I'm hoping to see 100. At 100, I get my own hyperlink from YouTube, which is going to be so much nicer than what I'm doing right now. And that's my personal goal, because when I remember when I first started this channel, I had to ask my mom to subscribe to this channel just to get 2. And the other one was my son. So I love you guys. Have a great evening. Share this with your friends and your family. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that post notification bell, and you guys have a great evening. Wow.